It's about SilverStripe and Cloudinary.
We're here to talk about how we integrate Cloudinary with SilverStripe, and specifically with the asset management system that SilverStripe already offers. So a lot of the work on this is done by Lee, my colleague over there. Put your hand up. Put your hand up. So I'll try to give you a small demo as well, but if anything goes wrong, he's the one to blame. I'm just here because I'm the pretty face of this group. All right, so I'll just begin by just introducing myself and Made Media, as we're one of the sponsors. So with Made Media, we're an agency based in Birmingham, United Kingdom. Founded in 2002, we primarily started doing a lot of small sites. Since then, we've grown to about 30, 35 people in the past sort of, how many is that? A few years. A number of years. We specialize in e-commerce sites for large cultural organizations. So primarily building applications which will enable them to sell their tickets online. We've got offices in Birmingham, London, and New York. We've previously had an office in Australia as well, but we no longer have that. We primarily develop using SilverStripe, which we have been doing since 2012, and we've been partners with SilverStripe since 2017. So let's just begin with speaking about the asset admin, which we all used to. That's the oh no, that's right. That's right image. Okay. So it's built in, no additional setup required. You install the standard version of SilverStripe Composer. It just comes in. You start using it. Nothing required. It's just there. It's familiar. It's been around since a long time. I think pretty much from the start of SilverStripe. I honestly wouldn't know if we don't use it. We've used our own sort of asset manager that we built on S3 because of one problem, which I'll discuss a little in details. It's simple. It's clean. You know, it's just no trash. It's just quite clean. You got folders, images. Very easy to use. You can get all the details of your assets. Nice search features. Anything that you'd want from an asset manager, basically. And more importantly, it has versioning, so you can keep track of changes to your files. So the problem, and one of the reasons why we tend to not use the built-in asset admin, for us has always been the need for scaling servers horizontally. So a lot of our websites are hosted on a number of servers. So having asset admin in one place where you're uploading images to one server would mean that those servers don't have access to those assets. The problem, again, that could be solved by elastic file system, but that's relatively new, probably like a couple of years old. Is that right? Yeah. So we haven't. It hasn't really been useful for us because again, we needed that a few years back. So that's when Cloudinary comes in. So Cloudinary is a third-party service which allows you to store, manage, and serve content over cloud. So everything is stored centrally in this third-party service. It's it could be fully integrated into the CMS. I'll show you that a little bit later. It helps us to remove asset hosting from the CMS itself, which means that if our servers are experiencing high load, we can just spin up another server and all of our images will already be there because they're already in the cloud. And it supports a vast array of on-the-fly image manipulation capabilities, which is powered by a very smart AI. And all the assets come via CloudFront CDN, so it doesn't matter which region you are, the assets will be delivered rapidly. And that's even with the transformations that you'll play. Like if you request a resizing of the image, it'll take less than a second to get that image back because it's just rapid. And all of that combined helps us improve the website performance. So a couple of features that Cloudinary supports. You can upload pretty much anything you'd ever need on a website: images, video, audio files, PDFs, any downloadable content that you may want to provide your customers with. Cloud-based storage. All of the assets are stored in S3 with the possibility of backups as well. So you can, on top of the S3 storage that they provide, you can also say, I want to also back up all of my assets on another S3 just in case you want to keep track of those as well. Smart caching of images. So once again, it's because it's all behind CloudFront CDN, your images will be cached in the cloud. And also, they have some really good headers. So it means that the images will also be cached in the browsers, making people who are repeat visitors to your website won't even see the images load. They'll just be there. So a couple of this we already spoke about. So resize, crop, apply effects such as duotone, grayscale, resizing to what you want, and especially like keeping aspect ratios and everything. And one thing that's really, really good about this is that when you resize, you can select what you want Cloudinary to focus on. So you can, by default, it'll be just auto, but you can say, I want to focus on a face, or I want to focus on multiple faces. I think they recently added some extra features where you can focus on objects as well, so like bicycles or washing machines or kitchen sinks, anything basically. That's actually a thing, the proper thing, kitchen sink. Face detection. And it's got other capabilities, which is extracting thumbnails from YouTube, or it has a fetch API as well. So if you had third-party images, I'll give you a good example. When we have like social panels on our website where we get images serving from Instagram, Instagram's images are stored are served via CDN. But to get to that, you get like a redirect URL. So when you get that, it takes about a second to get from what you actually want to what you actually get. So what we tend to then do is just put that URL behind Cloudinary. So Cloudinary will fetch that, store it temporarily, and then you can do image manipulations on that fetch URL on the fly. So you don't have to put that into your CMS or into anything yourself. And it also supports authenticated and private images. So if you built an API where if you have a service where you want images to only be available to you or via a specially signed URL, you can request that via the API. and those images will only be available via the API for you and no one else, which is an excellent feature. And last but not least, it supports folders, subfolders, tagging, just to keep your assets organized a little bit more. So what I've got here is just a little demo that we've hooked up. Once I figure out how to get off this screen. There you go. Where is it? Okay. So this right here is Cloudinary. This is what you get. Folders, images. If we just quickly go into one of these ones. So you get given this nice little area where you can go, I wanna format. I want like a JPEG image from this, and I wanna apply grayscale effect, and I wanna resize it to 320. And as you can see, all of that is done via URL, so it offers a really nice API where you basically just provide like an array of options, and it gives you back that URL, so you're not having to build that manually. And if we just quickly go on it, like, it's pretty fast. All right, so let's go back. All right, so here we are, is our asset manager, same resources. I just, when I was having lunch, I just ran the import script to get everything imported. I didn't want to risk doing it live on stage. So that basically imported all that, put that through. And so now we have all of those images available to use in SilverStripe. So let's just quickly go to a page. All right. So just want to like bring forward a few fields that that are available. So you're already used to the standard field where upload new or choose existing, or brings up on that. So let's just quickly go through that one. So say I want that guy. Cool, I got that image. Couple of other things that we also added, just to improve the functionality a little bit further, is the ability to extract out key colors from those images. So I'll give you a use case for that. Like if you have a very artistic page where all the colors of that page has to match whatever media you have. So you have like I don't know, like an image that's in like has a lot of red, and you want your text and everything to be red and whatnot. You could either get the person to select the color from from a color picker or whatever, or you could also keep losing my cursor. There you go. You could also extract that from the image, and then have that available so users can use that on the front end. So these are all the top images that are extracted from the image that we picked. So if I just if I get rid of that one, and I'll go choose existing, go back up. Let's go with this guy. I'm just going to save it. There you go. So all of that changed based on what's reflected in the image. And the other thing that we added was just those additional fields that can be used to just get that extra bit of information and provide the cropping for the images that we spoke about. So a really good example for that would be, let's put it into, I can't split mode, it's too small. It's all right, we'll do it one by one. So if we go to one of those samples, we'll go to this person. So just to give an example, like this is the whole image. It's pretty big. Person's in focus. It's all the way on the left of the image. Bicycle in the middle. We tend to follow the rule that you should only pick one image, a good sized, good quality one image for the page that should then be used for your header image or wherever that page is being listed as the listing image. So for those instances, we really like the focus, the gravity feature that Cloudinary provides, because it means that we're not giving clients websites where they have to pick loads and loads of different crops of the image. They can just pick one good-sized image and can reuse that. So if we go back to that guy. Yeah, so if you pick insert, let's start off by, let's go with center, right? And stick it into preview mode. This is just showcasing some of the effects that are there. So basically, by going, I want an image, resize it to this, resize it to that. Apply some effects on it. This is a bit more complex because effects in Cloudinary are slightly difficult to apply. Like especially stuff like tints, like a bit more advanced stuff, because you have to provide colors and everything. But the capability is there. So if you know how to, if you just play around with the effect editor inside the Cloudinary module itself, you basically figure out how to do this more or less. Here's another one where we've grayscaled it and applied it into it. And various other resizing things. So this is our image that we picked. I chose center, so it's basically cropped my person out completely, which is terrible cropping. So if we go back to the edit mode, we can then go focus on a face, or if it has loads of faces, focus on loads of faces, focus in on a body, focus in on a specific area of an image. So usually auto is pretty good with things like that, so we tend to start off that being default. So let's just stick it to this one, go back here, preview mode. And there you go. So we got a nicer cropped image. So that essentially is like Cloudinary in a nutshell, and how that all works with the asset manager. Just last couple of things that I would like to show is uploading things, or rather uploading things in Cloudinary and uploading things inside of the asset manager, because the last thing you want to do is like not have everything synced up. You want all of your assets to be in the other. So let's go to this guy. I should probably, it's really hard to drive that with without looking at my screen. I'm gonna get it here for a sec. All right, so that's one image there. So if we go back to this, hopefully that image that we just uploaded should automatically be added to here. And alternatively, the other image we uploaded inside of the asset admin should show up in here as well if we refresh. There it is. Although I think I uploaded the same image twice. Let's try that again. That one. There you go, that's a different image.
So is it storing within SilverStripe's AC?
Nope. Yeah, it'll temporarily store it in like temp directory or whatever for that upload, but then it'll just push it straight to Cloudinary. Let's just refresh that again, just to show that I'm not cheating, and that is actually an image. There you go, that's that image. So what basically what means for this is that, you know, because your assets are all stored in Cloudinary, just one central repository of images, you can have as many servers as you want for your website. Everything gets served from one place. The database doesn't need to know anything about where it's stored. All it knows is that there's an image and there's a URL. That's it. So let's quickly jump back into this, and then we can go through some other points. So I'm gonna just talk about some of the problems that we encountered getting that working, and mainly, you know, keeping everything synced. So the last thing we want is to have images that are inside of Cloudinary, but they're not available for you to use in the CMS without like constantly having to sync stuff. So we tried to solve that by adding a sync button to the toolbar at the top of the asset admin. That just, whenever you press, it just does a sync in the background and gets all your assets up to date. For two reasons, it didn't really work out. Firstly, is like it's a huge inconvenience to keep having to sync images. And secondly, we couldn't quite figure out how to add the button to the toolbar either, so that also didn't help. Luckily though, Cloudinary started providing a callback URL, which it would call every time you made changes inside of Cloudinary. So if you uploaded stuff in Cloudinary and you wanted that image to appear in your asset admin, it'll call the callback URL back to your server with the details, so you can take all of that data and put it inside the database. Didn't really have to worry about the other way around because the asset admin is hooked up with a Cloudinary API. So every time you uploaded stuff in SilverStripe, it would already upload that stuff to Cloudinary, and it would already add those the references of that inside the database. So that part was fine. It was just mainly the other part of it. So that's the way that we managed to get over that issue. The second problem that we encountered was so those gravity fills that we have per image instances. So you could basically have like loads of different. You can use the same image in loads of different places, but you can't really tie the gravity to the image itself, because you don't want to change the focal point of the image on one page, and like you can't have two focal points, the same focal point for the same image in two places. You want like different focal points. So we sort of introduced a file link class in the middle. So whenever whenever you see that field with a bunch of additional extra fields at the bottom, it's basically an extra data object that has a reference to the image and all the other fields on top of that as well. So the same sort of flower image that we used can be used in loads of different places on the website, but you could say I want the image in this place to have this focal point, and I want this image over here to have a different focal point. And that also helps with providing things like captions and credits as well, because you might want to have like different alt tags or whatever in different places. The other one that I think like had Lee pulling out his hair a little bit was when we started to go with our one image to rule them all approach. When we tried outputting that URL into different places on the page, whatever transformations that we applied on the last instance of that image would then just be used everywhere else as well on that same page, which is a little bit awkward. So we sort of, it's not a very like clever workaround or anything. We basically started doing to get over that issue was whenever you request a transformation on that image, so you go like $image.size, that size returns a cloned version of the previous image, so it's just a cloned object. So you're then never ever editing the original image. You're just editing an instance of it, so you can just keep applying stuff without having to ever affect. So that sort of helped us get over that issue. Couple of good things as well, which is image EXIF data or any metadata for that instance attached to your assets. As you saw on some of those, on one of those fields, you had like a title field and an alt tag field. One of the very first issues that we encountered when we started rolling out Cloudinary was that this client that we were working on had very good like images being used on their website, and for legal reasons they have to provide copyrights for those, otherwise they could get in a lot of trouble. So you'd be like, the simple thing is to why don't you just add a field to put the copyright in, and that's a valid approach. The field is there, but it's a bit annoying to having to keep entering copyrights every time you add an image. So we learned that a lot of photographers will add copyright information and credit information inside of their on their photographs EXIF data. So we sort of put two and two together and say like, why don't we just use that? So Cloudinary is really smart. So it made our job of doing that really easy, because it provides the functionality to extract any data attached to media. So you basically just go, hey Cloudinary, give me the metadata, and then we'll find out the most relevant field for copyright. I think there's no clear standard of what photographers will use for that, like the name-wise. So it's like some are called byline, some are called copyright, some are called credit. So we basically just go through a huge list. If any of them is provided, use that. And anytime you pick an image from Cloudinary, if that copyright information exists, it'll be already pulled into the field ready for you. So it just gets rid of that manual work on your behalf. Another great thing that Cloudinary does is it has the capabilities of optimizing for browsers. So if an asset is requested on Chrome or any modern browsers, it will automatically serve you WebP, because WebP is like really nice really nice optimized format. Unless obviously you say I want specifically JPEG or PNG. In that case, it'll give you that format. But if you don't ask it for a specific thing, it will try to optimize for you, which means that that's not what I want. Okay, which means that you can rest assured that whoever's looking at the website will always get the most optimized image for the device they're viewing on. And on top of that as well, some of these editorial images that gets used on our website are huge, absolutely huge. So even when we do crop it, they have so much information that even like a cropped image will be ridiculously big as well, because it's got so much detail in it that the size of that will still be pretty large. So Cloudinary is very good at giving you an image, an end image, which the quality of which is depending on the content that it has. So it'll use some smart AI to figure out what quality to best serve that image at. So if you got like really, really nice detailed image, and you set the quality, you set to request auto quality, it will basically give you an image at like 80% quality. But if you have like 70% images, because you still got all the details in. But if you have like a really bad image that you want to resize, it'll keep the quality a bit high so that it doesn't look so bad when it gets rendered on the page. And it does all of that stuff automatically. And the other thing is the extracting colors, which we saw earlier, so that you could use the colors from the image to pretty much dictate the themes of your page, or like if it's going in a header image and you have some like additional content next to the image, you can make sure that the background of that content sort of is seamless with the background of the image by picking the image that matches the color that's more prominent in the image, and all of that stuff gets saved, synced and saved into the database whenever that image comes through to the database. So it's just there, or anytime you pick that image, you don't have to wait for it to be fetched from Cloudinary. It's just there, available for you. So that's basically all my talk. If it feels like it's rushed and a bit small, it is rushed, and I did it like 2 a.m. in the morning last night. Thank you. Questions?
Yeah. Any questions? Oh, here, yes.
Thank you for this wonderful system. I really like it, what you said about Cloudinary. I currently have a client with about 3,000 assets in the admin.
Yeah.
How do you go about migrating to Cloudinary from SilverStripe?
So when we previously, before we were using Cloudinary, we were using S3 for our system. So when this is a example of a migration that we have done recently. So when it came to updating their SilverStripe and getting all of their assets into a more modern thing, what we did was we wrote a task to go through the images in the asset admin, and using the Cloudinary API to push all of those into Cloudinary. So you just move it from one place to the other, and then because the images are stored as URLs inside of the database, like the original URL gets stored and the public ID that gets stored, you basically update the the URL inside of the database with the URL that Cloudinary gives you back, and it'll give you back an ID as well. So you effectively it's effectively find, upload, and then replace.
So you keep the original image data objects in your SilverStripe system?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Like effectively, we didn't want to go about changing the way asset admin works for a number of reasons. It would have just become unmanageable. We wanted to keep it as standard as possible. So that meant that, just changing the bare minimum that gets edited. But if you do come across any issues, we'll be happy to help you migrate. Well, give pointers on how to migrate.
I'll figure it out.
Cool. I was curious to know how the module's built. Like, how did you plug into Asset Admin?
He'll tell you more about that.
Thank you. How do you mean how?
Like, does it use the asset abstraction stuff, or have you just like?
Yeah, there's a backend.
I should not put him on the spot.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't, it uses the same functionality as if you were using S3 for the backend. So there's the
like the fly system.
the
sort
fly
of
system.
plugin.
That's
Okay,
the one.
cool.
Yes. So there's a
Good to know it works.
yes. Yeah. So it's just updating the calls so as to use the Cloudinary API when the specific calls were made. There are still a couple that need to be flushed out. So
I think we did run into some issues with GraphQL originally when we started it.
yeah. So as you said, as was said in the previous at the opening of the day, so like GraphQL was new at the time, so it was a learning curve. But we found that working with the existing asset management system and calls and changing as little as possible gave the biggest bang for the buck sort of thing. Yeah.
I think we ended up, a few of those places we ended up just extending the base classes and just using the injector to replace the class used with our new class in a few places. I feel like that injector is godsend in a lot of places in SilverStripe. It solves so many problems. Cool. Anyone else?
Lars?
Thanks a lot for the work. I've been playing around with the module. Do you guys feel it's ready for production? Or you advise to wait?
We have been using it for production sites for a number of clients actually, and for a couple of years. It's ready to use, but use it with caution. I'd say, file any issues or anything. We are working really hard to get it to a state where it could be just used without any input from us or anything. So over the next couple of months, we're gonna sort of take a step back and see if there are any changes that we can make on it, just to make it a little crazier than it is. Just clean up the code a little bit and get it ready so that community can start providing input on it, because we really do like Cloudinary. We think it's great. We want more people to use it, and there's no better place than SilverStripe Asset Admin to use that.
Hiren, I said I'm not going to put in that code to just nuke the database
come
randomly
on.
every 1,000 requests.
That's how you keep the database clean.
Okay, thank you very much.